Hello, beautiful souls. So this morning, and I probably look like it, I have got golf ball swelling under here. Not as bad as the few times I was having strep. I mean, like I had golf balls under here so bad that it stretched all my neck out in here, and now I gotta do exercises. Besides, I lost a ton of weight, which for me was a lot because I don't have much already. So, yeah, fighting off allergies again. This is kind of all swollen, and I gotta crack down on my diet and completely eliminate sugar and chocolate again. And chocolate is like my one bad thing I let myself have, you know? Like, so having brought this up, beautiful souls, I wanted to talk about materialism, and I might talk more about the left-hand side than the right. But know that the right, obviously, the people that think they're righteous and good or whatever, the white light, do it all right stuff, they are just as twisted and evil when it comes to righteousness and purging. Excuse me, I'm going to work on my sound. Hold on. So purging the earth, like the Elohim have talked about doing and do. So either or side is this. Now when I was drug into left-hand path from the far right, I got out of the far right, out of that white light crazy situation, like Amish, Mennonite, Christian, searching my way through Christianity for the right answer and not finding it there, and then doing nothing but copying and reading my Bible all the time. Like I worked my butt off as a mom with 5-6 kids because I had one I cared for that was not mine biologically, just my adopted daughter. And she chose me, which is beautiful. But anyways, I got too far into the one side, the light, and you can never be good enough. So you're never going to be good enough. But then when everything broke down because of the demonic infiltration or infestation or whatever dimensional blah, 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 because of the kids doing witchcraft and different things, bunch of different things in our lineage, then I was thrust into the kind of the lifestyle of the other side with Satanists and materialists, and just like having everything around me all the time and having everything I could have wanted, but never having it mine and never having the choice to be able to be free to do what I wanted with the material. And that in our society alone is having enough but never having what you want is what leads to the annihilation on the material side. And I know it also leads to the annihilation on the white light side. And so because I tend to be this person always searching for my middle ground in the left and in the right, someone had told me a long time ago, Sheila, there is gray areas. It's not just all just black and white, which they were using me, so they should have been glad that I didn't get what they were talking about, but whatever, that's been my whole life. Not now, but was. And so the dematerialization, because I had this not dream, but an out-of-body experience while meditating, completely different, awake, and I talked about like hearing this tornado-like sound. First it started like a fan noise, and it just got louder and louder, like a fan sucking, and then it was like tornado. And then it was just so intense, like I couldn't even move. It got so intense, so quick, that I didn't even have time to process it in my mind. And as it was reaching a point of calamity that was insanity, it became, the cacophony became like beautiful music. And it was like I was hearing everything. And so then I watched, because of that, I watched the movie Everything Everywhere All at Once, which yesterday I posted the mentions of that on another video. And that was kind of insane. But it also brought out the annihilation, the 9 extreme on the left and the right. I posted yesterday in community pages about how the number 9 isn't evil and you can use it to manifest. I believed in using all numbers to manifest before. So they were my source energy that I was relating things to. Astrology and many other things, trying to figure out my own experience here, but I use the numbers to manifest. And I never thought of 6 as evil or 9 as evil, but so many people on these extreme paths use it for this. And so when my mind started adjusting to the experience that I had gone through, which was when the cacophony, the siren call, the cacophony or the calliope, got to this so intense point that I just felt that I was being ripped and spread out, which was an amazing experience. It wasn't bad, but being pulled apart and spread out everywhere. And it was so intense and it was beautiful, and it reminded me much like dying and looking at the person who had been trying to kill me and saying, I love you, I love you, I love you. And crazy people and people who are on the extremes, left, right, left paths, or people who like to disintegrate and become other things and run with wolves or whatever, they can make that into their own storyline, but there's a balance of both. And so when you get to a point, as I did in your life, where your soul dematerialized, all right, and then you give that path up, because annihilation becomes the answer when everything's extremes. And we do this within our minds and bodies without knowing. If you go too far to the left-hand material side, you'll become an annihilist. Same with the right, they become a nihilist. And so as I dematerialized, this white light came down and shone on my head, and immediately I was sucked back into reality, or this reality, which was kind of a lot like a dying experience I had when I was 16, maybe 15 and a half, 16. I'm not quite sure right now what it was. But anyways, I think it was the fall right before I turned 16. I had a heart condition and I went in a sauna, and some kids thought it would be funny to crank it up. And in those days, the sauna crank was on the outside of the, I don't know why, it was on the outside anyways. So these thick kids thought it would be funny to, crank this up. And my friend had a real literal bad heart condition, and so she was like, got overheated before me, and she's like, I gotta get out of here, because we were just talking and didn't realize. So we hit the showers, but when I hit the shower, I put mine all the way on cold. So I shocked myself. And I had mitral valve prolapse then, so my heart stopped. And after my near-death experience, I woke up in a puddle in the shower, and it was covering my mouth. So if I hadn't woke up one way or the other, I would have been gone. And in that experience, I was someplace else completely. And here I never existed, but I've said before and shared the story before, when I recalled my grandmother, who was like the most important person to me in my life, my gram, like raised me, was like my mother, my grandmother, my everything. An amazing, sweet, loving person. And she had passed when I was 13, and I wanted to see her. And as soon as I recalled that I wanted to see, and I looked over to a certain area in what I guess I'd call heaven or the white light, I was thrown back down to earth through a white tunnel, much like the one I exited, which to me now is through the top of my head. That's how I kind of relate to it. Excuse me, I'm rubbing mascara all over the place, itching my eye. But anyways, this white light kind of experience, and going through this again in meditation and not in a near-death experience, kind of made me reorganize my mind, and kind of seeing how the cacophony of everything, it's cacophony, everything is, but at the same time, it's beautiful. And you can get lost in the beauty and the annihilation. So watching this Everything Bagel movie really made me rethink all these things and kind of pull me back into this thought and this thought forms of what we're experiencing here. And though that was a ridiculous movie, it did show the left and the right, like the white bagel and the black center. Both are everything, moving toward self-annihilation. And what the center of that was, after all, was bringing all the fractals of oneself together, which is what shamanism and any path toward wholeness is about. Is you bring all your frequencies, fractals of you together. And then you realize it's everything, everywhere, all at once. You're your ancestors, you're this, you're that. It's just all a cacophony. Yet you're here and you can choose silence and knowing yourself. Yet that silence becomes too much, okay? So for me, it just reiterated how I want to be in my center. I'm here being material. I want to experience the material, and I don't want to get lost in it. It's not going to be my God. And then I want to experience the white light and being in my heart space and judging from my center. But I don't want to get too lost in that either, because I was like hyper in my heart space for 2 years from someone doing work on me, and I think they were manifesting off me, pretty much is what everyone in my life has done to me prior to this. But so the things that I'm learning, like having a friend that I disengaged from because she told me she was taking spirits from trees, in order her belief, absorbing a Lilith current, that's a spirit. And to me, as a shamanistic, I found that very offensive. To me, it's different when you've got a relationship with a dog or cat or person or animal, like a reindeer, which was great because I dreamed about my ancestral reindeers the other night, and it was amazing and I loved it. But you don't earn the right to take a spirit of an animal or a tree or anything unless you have a relationship with it. Unless, to me, there's an agreement between that tree spirit, the Ashira or the Lilith, to me is a Naga or a Nagini. You don't embody those things when you don't know them, because they're their own spirit and their own thought form and their own angles, and people embody them to force them to be manifestors for them, which is what people were doing for me, to me. So, yeah, in other words. At the same time, I refuse everybody's left, right, left path. I want to find me. I want to find the wholeness of me. And I don't want to make any more con tracks along the way. So it's really important to me to work with the trees and get information from them, because they always clarify what I'm learning and bring visuals in. But I don't want to take on a tree that I don't know and I don't have a connection with, and it isn't sick and it isn't diseased and it isn't needing to leave its home. It's very dangerous. I've watched my friends become evil from doing this, become materialistic, because a tree is material, and Naga teach you information for this earth to be materialistic. And if you're not capable of being balanced within your center, you are going to become a materialist, and then you're going to not know and not have your middle road. What is my sanctity? What is my justification? What is my balance? And you're going to be an annihilist eventually. You know, these people who do this end up hating the white light BS side that they were on and moving completely into the materialistic. But that's what the whole world is doing right now. It's being materialistic. And so being these materialistic things, the next step in that evolution is annihilation. So I don't want to be either side, because I have been, and I have been both sides. And I shared to you my ability as an annihilist. You have to see your shadow and your highest potential of what you could possibly be to know yourself and your center and how you want to carry this lifetime out. And that's nobody else's business to say. But like I said, if someone's going to make theirself my enemy, their current is going to be under my feet. I am not going to let them dominate me, because they don't have my highest good, and generally never the highest good of all. So when I talk to trees, I ask them whether or not they want to talk to me. I ask them if they want to give me info. If they're dying out and they only got leaves sitting at the top and the rest of them is rotted, I tap on them and talk with them. And if they don't want to be taken out of the deep sleep of their core and their dematerialization, I don't force them to. I don't tell them what to do. Though here I am operating as the current between heaven and earth, as what Jesus called a God, ye are gods. That is to be in one's Isis central chamber, Christ, whatever you call your central chamber, and not to be swayed by one side or the other. Yet I use all these things, so I have to find my way on the path towards my highest good. And if it ever came to a space where I trusted a tree spirit and we had a relationship going on and that spirit was ending its time and it didn't want to go into another tree, I'd take it on. Spirits, literally, of trees take on each other. As the other ones die, they have a neural network, and they try to help and work with those dying trees. Like this, by the way, I picked the other day, which is going to be an antler, but I sawed it off. It is a cedar tree, and it smells amazing. When you find trees that are very stripped like this in the woods, no bark and hardened up, white, they tend to be cedar trees. So you might want to look for that. The other ones dematerialize quicker because cedar preserves itself. So also I found them broken down, and the cedar mulch, like putting your hands and feeling that, is like an amazing experience of dirt and sawdust and life and death. It feels amazing. And I don't say like life and death in a morbid human way. But anyways, I don't see trees as less than us, or animals, or anything. We tend to make them that way. And we tend to disturb their natural environment and screw them up. And so why, I've been asking the trees why about their tap roots. I've said this before in other videos, that the trees' tap roots are not there. When they fall over, there's no tap root. Meaning there is no spirit, meaning that when they're attacked by the external viruses, fungi, disease, they don't have any chance of surviving. And they're going for the highest currency, the old big trees, and the old big tree will try to hold them up as long as they can. But, they don't have that taproot. They don't have their center. And so they're dying. And it's the same with us. So same with the Naga. Same with us. And, so I'm not here to tell you what to do. But obviously if I told you, you can get power and Lilith and the Ashera pole and blah, 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 Naga and pulling them into your body, and you can be one of these hybrids like me and start having all these things inside of you. Oh yeah, well, I've experienced that. Good luck. You will get greedy. You will meet your shadow. You will meet the shadow of the dematerialization of a tree or its ascension process. What do you want to take inside of you? You came here to be the material that you are, a human, and people want to be anything but what they are lately, and I don't blame them. Like, to be human right now is to actually seriously be degraded. And that's what's going on, because people don't have their center. They don't have their taproot. They don't know themselves. And so they are not deeply rooted. And when they're attacked, body, soul, and spirit, they're going down pretty damn easy. And that's what's happening in the world, in the trees, in the world systems. And I'm just finding my way in between that world, and I am not going to take on the left or the rights again, because I already had to come to a place where I had to cut all of that off of myself and just know my existence on my own to find my center. I don't want to keep on adding other materials, other spirits, other things. We've already got spirits in our body, spirits in our cells, spirits in our organs, like major spirits and major organs. And different zones in our body that function spiritually different, like the planets in outer space. I've made the reference many times. So when people watch my vlog and hear I'm against certain things, there's never a reason why I'm just against this, I'm scared, I'm whatever. No, that's unhealthy to be scared of these things. But at the same time, I'm not going to take them on and manipulate them for power, because when I do that from that mindset, it means, hi, I'm weak, take me over, I need. And friends I know that do this shite end up being suicidal and messed up, and they never get what they want, and that's what happened to me, and you actually start to be an nihilist. You lose your balance. And then you'll start to believe your balance is to be in the left, or your balance is to be a balance of the right, or a thought form of either, and you never know yourself in your highest potential through the center. And so I think, I'm not scared to go into annihilation or into the white light, because both is beautiful. But at the same time, both are imbalances. And this is why I say, like, spiritually, learn who you are, where you're at, and love yourself. Because if you love yourself, no matter what you know or don't know, when you leave this body, you're going to go toward what feels like the highest good and love. And you're not going to be confused by the white light, and you're not going to be confused by the cacophony of the God, the demigod music of all that there is in this darkness of eternal being in the siren's call, which I'm not completely against. I've said it before. But yeah, I could have stayed there. It was beautiful, and the cacophony became just this most beautiful song. And I'll use this as a reference. When I was still a Christian, I went to a church once where they sang in the Spirit. So this is what they did. It sounds insane, because all the other churches I experienced it at, it was just insanity. Sounded horrible, was horrible, I didn't like it. It was just vaudevillian. But in this one church, the people were singing this song, and then they just let the song continue to play, and people started speaking in tongues and all saying different things, yet singing the same song. And at first it was strange, and then in a moment it clicked, just like in my meditation experience, and it was beautiful because there was no dissonance. All of it was in one voice, and even though they were all speaking different things, they were all harmonizing to the music and saying different things. So that was my first amazing balanced experience, in the white light Christian blah blah blah. But there are people in every faith and every belief who have their center and know themselves. And I think these people were more kind of like that. Though in some ways with healing and stuff, I kind of saw them as extremists because they were too into the healing and money aspect, charismatic, without teaching major bases and foundations that you need to have in your life to comprehend those things and to use them wisely. So just like that, I'm saying with the trees, with any spirits, don't just read I can't say the S word. Well, the Sophia is wisdom in the Bible. So there's a book that has that title. And basically what this woman does is go through and put you in contracts with all these goddesses, which there's never a goddess without a god figure backing it up. That's called balance. But there's just goddesses in this book. So it's so enticing to be drawn in by all these beliefs and verbally make contracts with them. And if you are, verbally break them and cut them off. See, when I work with the land, with anything, I don't make contracts no more. I don't ask for help. I say, would you teach me what I need to know? Will you guide me with your I am, your central chamber, yourself? And if they don't have a central chamber, they ain't guiding me, Or if they're not willing to share without taking my life force, which I've said I've had a tree do before. Like, it literally electrocuted me, and it was like a gopher spell, like the gopher dust spell, where the shock starts spreading and it goes to all your nerve endings and starts making you sick. Now, that could have been because someone else used Lilith magic to do that, and while I used my tree to communicate with in the night, that came in. That's a possibility. People do that to people. So, you know, here or there, whether it was Lilith work and their messed up ignorance of the trees, and making trees die by being far left and far right. Yeah, literally, you're killing the trees, these overly spiritual people, whether they're on the left or the right-hand path. And they're using it to gain just material or to gain just spirituality, to be better, to be, this is the problem, the mentality. That when you go into any kind of ritual, any kind of healing, any kind of thought form, even speaking, if it's not from your center and from a place of loving yourself and trusting yourself, not being high on the white light, drunk on your heart space, or just, you know, getting into the materialism in order to dematerialize, because we're all going to die anyways and go back to the black, so blah, 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 might as well live it up and have it when we have it. Imbalances. And I'm just here to talk always about bowing to your center and your soul, because in all these storylines, not just within your central self, there are all these storylines of imbalances and left, right, lefts. And, you know, do you cut down a tree just for the joy of cutting it down? Do you kill an animal just for the joy of killing it? That's very psychopathic, you know, and very screwed up. You know, you're messed up on your left path. Your left path has a deep bend, left, right, left, 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 mess up. Go to the annihilation. That'd be great for us all. You know, so why, if you don't believe in doing these things to things that are innocent, why would you do that to a tree, to anything, to anyone, to a human being? Feel that their currency is less than yours so you could take it, unless they are trying to destroy you and trying to harm you, and then you must put their currency under your feet, because they have all the chance in the world to get wisdom, knowledge, understanding, and balance it for the greatest good of all on earth, and they're not. And so I wanted to talk about that today. I wanted to talk about the extreme lefts and the extreme rights again, and how dematerialization becomes dematerialization, and both extremes of the path become annihilation. And it can be done. The Elohim, which I don't want to just name them that and say it's that, because in the storyline, the Enochian angelic beings that I met on earth that wanted to annihilate mankind, it was because things had gotten so out of hand that they regretted making humans. Sound like a familiar biblical story? It isn't just one. It's one operating as a whole for all. And I have recently and since then found that these alien beings are also not in their centers. They're being controlled by the opposite, negative end of the nine. So the 9 alien on Earth, who think they're the white light whatever, are also controlled and balanced by the dark 9. And that, okay, is truly balance. Both sides, both extremes in balance together. But when one side is allowed to get out of balance, as it has happened in the Kali age, and you know, was supposed to happen, and we need to build ourselves up out of that again, come up from our centers, be the tree with the taproot. You know, sadly, my dream was always to see the ancient redwood trees and to go to the ancient forests and see the giant trees. And I hear now that they're starting to not allow people in there because the trees are all dying. Well, the trees are all dying because our own thought forms. Because these Naga that came here to teach on this earth also over time have become imbalanced. So if I share videos where people talk about things like I did with Dieho, I think his name is pronounced, yesterday, about 9, I am not telling you like he does to just go out and take a spirit out of a tree. And he is not. He is communicating with the tree for information. And I have to go in the middle of this because I'm getting a call from the garage. Thank you. So don't take information you can't handle.